Hello, this is Wildtronics in the field. This is part 2 of how to film and record frogs with using a Pro Mini parabolic microphone setup. The objectives in this video will be showing the versatility of such a small parabolic microphone in use. Number 2 will be to show how well it works with low frequency subjects and dispelling the idea that small parabolic microphones don't work or are useless for any low frequency subject, such as the subject in this videos will be bullfrogs, which tend to be low frequency anywhere from 200 to 2 kilohertz region. And we will provide samples at the end showing how this whole system works. In our first video, how to record and film frogs, it was more about how to isolate single subject, higher frequency frogs that were in close proximity using the gain and the isolation a small parabolic will give you. Those were recorded at very, short distances of 3 to 4 feet in the range. Bullfrogs, on the other hand, you can't normally get as close. So we use the Pro Mini parabolic system, and we mount it on the camera directly, and most of these samples you will see are around 15 to 20 feet away. And that will give an idea of how well the mini parabolic system works. You will see in the samples that the Pro Mini parabolic works quite well, even picking up the low frequencies. And it does provide even some isolation between two bullfrogs that were about 20 feet apart or so. A lot of people have been taught or have read or learned some secondhand information that parabolic microphones, their frequency of use is dependent on the diameter of the parabolic size. And it's true, of course, that's where the gain starts on the parabolic system. But inside of a parabolic mic is a microphone. All microphones will pick up down to 20 kilohertz, or 20 hertz, I should say. The issue is the gain doesn't start until you reach that point of the size determines where the gain point starts. A larger 22-inch size gain starts at about 200 hertz. A smaller 11 or 12-inch, like the Pro Mini, the gain starts at 400 hertz. But just because the gain starts somewhere doesn't mean that you don't have it, that the signal is not picked up at all. A lot of people have been taught that somehow the low frequencies just come in, to the parabolic mic and somehow go around the mic and are never picked up by the microphone, which is just not the case. It's still picked up, it just doesn't have gain. So therefore, if you record the same subject with a hypercardioid or shotgun or cardioid microphone, you're getting basically the same low frequency response as a parabolic mic, but the parabolic mic's gain comes in at higher frequencies as a function of around 4 to 6 dB per octave, depending on the design of it. Now, the idea that small parabolic microphones or parabolic microphones don't work at low frequencies could be, and probably comes from, competitor designs running omnidirectional microphones pointing straight out of a parabolic dish reflector that will give the absolute worst low frequency response. And there's functional reasons for that. It's been well documented. We designed ours to be specially designed, our parabolic systems, to have increased gain at lower frequencies, that the others actually have a negative gain. When we pick up a signal coming into the small parabolic microphone, we're still getting the low frequencies. Now, in comparison to another type of microphone pointed at the subject, you're still picking up that same frequency. It's important to know that the parabolics do have a lot of gain, as the frequency goes up. But at low frequencies, there's not a lot of gain, so basically you have the same signal and strength as a regular microphone. So if you have a subject that is low frequencies, say like a frog or a bullfrog with 200 hertz, you're still picking up the same amount on this Pro Mini as you would another mic. The other mic doesn't have any gain at all anyway, so having no gain in the parabolic is an equality. You'd still get some isolation with the parabolic because it's isolated from the back edge of the parabolic itself. And you get some isolation and some gain due to the harmonics that are found in the subject calls. We're talking bullfrogs here, so their frequency range goes up to 2 kilohertz for some of the inflections, and maybe not the bass frequency, but the harmonics and other inflections that they make go up to 2 kilohertz. Therefore, you have a lot of gain. Therefore, you have some isolation between subjects. And you'll see that these are only 20 feet across. Now, here's what I used when I picked up the samples you'll see. I just used the Pro Mini Parabolic, and this time I used a mini stereo pit microphone. And you could use any other mic. You can use a regular Omni microphone in here, or our stereo mic, or our XLR mic, or even our amped Omni mic. It doesn't matter. I just used the mini stereo because I usually use it for birds, and I had it in here. It does create a little bit of a stereo effect as well. It's not perfect true stereo, but it gives an effect which is more pleasing to listen to. And you can hear, subjects from either side a little better than just hearing just the mono tone. And then what I did here, I'll step back here. I just connected it straight into the top of the camera with a hot shoe mount on the base of the Pro Mini, and connected it up that way, and directly connected the audio straight into the camera. Since these subjects, the bullfrogs were further away, 15, 20 feet, maybe a little more, I had to use a big lens. Whereas the part 1, I used the 400 millimeter, or 1 to 400 millimeter. This one I had to use the 2 to 600, and I was using 600 millimeters plus a little bit of a digital crop, which made it about a 700 or so millimeters to capture, getting them close up, making them look like they're close. And I mounted to a gantry, again, like the birds, because this is further away. I didn't have any troubles with mounting it. So I just used the gantry mount on the tripod. You could use other ones, other tripod mounts, video tripod mounts for this. These subjects, bullfrogs, they don't move a whole lot like birds, so you don't have to be real quick, so you can have time to find your subject, lock it down, and start recording. And I used this time, since they were further away, a small little light attached to the Pro Mini wouldn't work. Even a little flashlight handheld flashlight. I did have to use a bit of a spotlight, an 800 lumen spotlight, typically kind of on low, or as I can get away with. And this was like an f6 lens, so it's not a very bright lens, but it works with enough light. And you got to be careful about enough light, because, like again on the first one, frogs don't really like light, and they like being out in the dark, and they call mostly in the dark. So you try to use as less light as you can to get your subject to call and make a good film. But you still also want it to look darker as well, because you don't want it to look like it's in the middle of the day, where they don't normally call. But they can. There's calls in the daytime, just not as many. So that's generally the setup I use to use the Pro Mini Parabolic microphone. So you'll see now the samples after this. The samples are basically snippets that were taken in shots, And almost all of these were within the 15 to 25 foot away from the camera, away from the parabolic microphone. So you can kind of see the depth, the distance that the parabolic microphone can get. And the ones that were in proximity that you'll hear, they're probably about maybe 15, 20 feet apart as well. Sometimes they were really close, but you'll see those in the film and you'll hear them. But a lot of times you can hear, when they're farther apart, you can kind of hear that there's one over here, and the main focus is on the center that you'll be seeing the film on. So that's it. Let's listen to the samples.